other attendees. See, today's session is orientation session for all students and faculties by Institute's Innovations Council, Institute Innovation Council members, by the innovation ambassadors. So today we'll be discussing how this institution innovation cell is important for us, what are the activity, what are the role of the various faculties and the students we'll be discussing today. So I request Mr. Ravi Ranjan, President of IIC of Techno India University, to deliver his welcome address.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. Really appreciate your kind welcome. I would like to congratulate the entire team of IIC on organizing this wonderful session. Before I begin the session, I just want to share some very important and crucial points. IIC Techno India University has been working really hard towards bringing the world, best in class speakers, workshops, seminars, and this is not possible without the amazing support of all the faculty leads and all the students who are also joining in. We all understand that the world and India is currently going through a very serious crisis. However, we look at it as an opportunity where we can enhance our skill. We can understand about all the important things in our life which can help us proceed in terms of how we can choose a good career for ourselves. Learning should never stop, and that is what we believe at Techno India University. And to continue that tradition, we are today very, very glad to have this orientation session by Innovation Ambassadors. As part of the IIC by AICTE, MHRD, Government of India, there are some innovation ambassadors from campuses across the country. I'm also very glad to share with you that Techno India IIC is one of the top ranked IIC in the country and has been receiving various accolades. Today, we would listen from all the experts around innovation. We would hear and understand how using innovative approach, we can succeed in life, both in terms of building an enterprise, being an entrepreneur, and even when you're trying to get a job in a government or a private sector. With that, I would like to congratulate Dr. Debasdeep Das, Dr. Ashok Paul, Professor Helena, Rupal Betai, and everyone else involved to make this event a grand success. Over to you, Dr. Paul.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ravi. You have told a very important word that learning should never stop, it should continue. So obviously we will follow that guidance. See, now we request Professor Dr. Helena Sengupta, Innovation Ambassador, Design Thinking and Innovation Convener, IIC, Techno India University, and Professor and Head of the Department of Civil Engineering, to deliver his address, to deliver her address. I request Dr. Helena Sengupta, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ashok Kumar, sir. And I'm here to talk to you regarding the design thinking methodology, the skill which we can use in problem solving. So I would like to share my screen. Just a minute. So here we are. So we'll talk about how we can use design thinking in problem solving. Now, which type of problems are we talking about? You will see that when we are going through our daily routine, then we start cribbing about certain things. We keep saying, okay, why is it not this way? Or why is it not that way? Or this is the issue. So all these types of problems which we face, if we use this technique of design thinking, then we can solve it. So what is this design thinking? So if we talk about Steve Jobs, he has defined it as design is not just what it looks like and feel like. Design is what it works. So anything that works for us is a design. We have another person called Tim Brown, who is a British industrial designer and president of IDEO. IDEO is one of the initial the first the organization who has been working on design thinking. So as per them, it is design thinking is a human-centered and collaborative approach to problem solving, using a designed mindset to solve complex problems. So it's a process, it's a skill through which we can solve the problems. Now, if we want to put it into a definition form, then we can say that design thinking is a design methodology that provides a solution-based approach to solving problems. It's extremely useful in tackling complex problems that are ill-defined or unknown. I'll elaborate on these things in the next slide, but yet, by understanding the human needs involved, by reframing the problem in human-centric ways, by creating many ideas in brainstorming sessions, and by adopting a hands-on approach in prototyping and testing. We will discuss all these steps in the consequent slides. See what happens whenever there is a problem. So what type of things will come into your mind? First, we need to find out whether it's a human, it's focused on human values, whether there is any uncertainty of high level involved in it, whether it's very confusing, and whether there may be some data, no data, or there is a data, but we are confused about what data is to be used. So these type of problems can be solved by design thinking. Now, this design thinking is not only about developing a new product. Basically, we said it's human centric, which means that we want to develop user experience. We want to give a good experience to the user. So this can involve changing the products according to the trends, which could be economical, which could be ecological, which could be social. That means it is about going through the market with what the trend is there and what the market is demanding really. So what is it all involved? I just spoke about the definition. Basically, we'll see that there are 5 stages in design thinking process. And these 5 steps are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So what is it, this empathize? What are we trying to do over here? We'll go through each of these steps. But before that, I'll try to say what it is empathize is to help define the problem. And we are going to the market, we are going out and asking people what the issue is. We are trying to understand from them what exactly their needs are. What is that they are facing problems in, and what we can actually address. So when we do a survey, and then we come back and we start to analyze these inputs which we get from the people. So then we simulate the entire thing and we actually define the problem. Once we have defined the problem, then what happens is we are trying to find out what we can get a lot of brainstorming done, and then we find out certain ideas. Based on these ideas, we will be making a prototype of the thing. And once the prototype is done, then we again go to the market. We again place the object or the solution which we have found out into the market and try to see the feedback which we are getting. Then whatever feedback we are getting, we again might see that certain things are not there. So we go back to the ideate thing. It might happen from the ideate when we are going to prototype, we are trying to learn some things and we are coming to understand that, okay, these things could have been done better. So we again go from prototype, we can go to the ideate. It can happen that when we are in the testing stage, then we find that whatever we did, actually we did not define it properly. So it could be we go back to the define, that is we are redefining the thing. And also it might happen that whenever we are doing the entire testing, we are also learning about the users about the testing things that more inputs are required. So it can again go to the empathize. It's all the stages are interlinked and it is a evolutionary system in which you ultimately find a product out of it. So as I said, design thinking is what? It's a human-centered design lens. So we are thinking about the human utility, what humans are wanting. So we can say that design thinking is a human-centered design lens. So as I already said, we have these stages. We are empathizing, we are defining, we are editing, and then we go to the prototype, and then we go to the testing stage. We can understand this with an example. So what we'll do is first we understand what empathize is. The word empathize, basically what you're doing is you should know who are we making this product for? What is their problem? What do these people actually need and what auxiliary they do? So we are trying to be empathetic to the people and trying to find out what the problem is. So what it happens is there's a deep understanding of the problems and the realities of the people you are designing for. So we'll have basically 3 steps over here. What are we doing? We'll first observe. How will we observe? How users interact with their environment. So we'll try to do that. And whatever I'm speaking, I am again repeating in the next few slides. I will actually take you through a process of solving a problem. So you'll understand each step very clearly. So in the observe thing, what you are doing, you are having how users are interacting with their environment. Then what we are doing, we are capturing codes, behaviors, and other nodes that reflect their experience. We also notice what they think, how they feel, what they need. So we'll all capture all this data. We are just observing. And then there could be another method. What we can do, can engage. We can create interviews. We can create a preset questionnaire. And then we try to understand what exactly their needs are. And the third is we immerse. What we do, find ways to get into the user's shoe. We actually are trying to be in their shoes, trying to understand what the basic problem is. And best way to understand and this is the best way you can understand what the user's need is. We can do it in 3 research types. It can happen. So one research is called the ethnographic research. So what is it? It's basically you're interviewing, a technique for gathering information through direct dialogue. You're actually talking to the people. You're interviewing. You're asking question after question. You're noting it down, and that's how it happens. The second way could be fly on the wall observation, means an approach of conducting field research in an unobtrusive manner. Third could be contextual inquiry. So a technique of observing and interviewing people in their work environment. So your various level of interviewing is done, and we are immersing our experience to the first hand we are getting it. That is the ethnographic research. The second could be the participatory research. That's a different technique of research. So what you're doing over here, you are what's on your mind, an exercise in which people plot their items according to personal significance. By a feature, a game in which people express trade-off decisions using artificial money. And there's also that's many other ways. You can build your own questionnaires, you can do journaling and other things. You get this as a participatory research. And the third type of research is the evaluative research, in which what happens is you're thinking out loud. Here, a test where user narrate their experience while performing a given task. And there's a heuristic review in which an auditing procedure based on 10 rules of thumb for good design. These are, I'm not going into the depth of it, but these are the processes in which you can understand and formulate your theme. Now, as I said, we'll go through an exam. Now, you are having few people over here and you are trying to understand and you're trying to find a solution for the old people. So there you are trying to interview, they're getting somewhere. So in the first person, you can see this balloon over here. Here, when you're asking a question, the person says, I feel difficulty in going around while I'm walking. I use a walking stick, but then there are boulders and other things. I find problem in walking. The next one person you are interviewing, that person says, I have a problem. I have a wheelchair, but when I'm coming to the stairs, I have a problem climbing and getting down. The third one is another person. He's saying, okay, I have both of them, but when I'm from the chair to the walking stick, when I'm just changing over, then I'm having a problem. The fourth one, this old lady, she says, no, I have a problem being idling at home. I feel like that I should be going out. I should have people around me and all those things. So there are four different type of old age people giving different solutions. So you're actually speaking to them and you're empathizing with them and you're getting what their problem, what their viewpoint is and what their issues are. Now, from that, basically what are we going to take from it is that this is a problem. We are trying to find out what it is. Is it a problem? Is this a common problem or this is a common challenge? Or this is an observation we are able to make. So against all this, in this case, we had done 4 interviews. You might be doing hundreds of interviews. So you actually, after noting down all the information that you have gathered, what you do is you are basically putting them into different categories. One could be a problem. You could put it as a common problem. You could put them as a common challenge. And you could put it this, okay, this is just an observation. So how do you take things, take everything that is learned in the empathy section and then turn that out into a problem statement? So that is what we are, from empathizing, you are now trying to define it after you have categorized it. So what are the user needs? What are their problems? What are their challenges? And what are the insights we can use? So from there, we are trying to define a problem. So we'll define a problem over here. So what we are doing, you're taking everything you have learned in step 1, in the empathize step, and you're defining, and you're really kind of breaking it down and coming to conclusions about what are the users' needs based on everything you have learned from interviewing them. So you're just putting it into what are their needs, what are their problems, what are their challenges, what are the types of things, what are the insights we could use from the interviews, from empathizing with the users. So what we are actually doing is, what are we talking, what are we talking from that? What are we actually able to use it as information? What are we saying? That again, I say that we have already categorized it into problem, common challenges, and observations. And we take this into a problem statement. How are we going to create a problem statement? We are going to say how to support or assist or help by creating a service or a facility for betterment of human experience. So these, just look at the steps which I have broken down into. So you are going to find out a solution. How you're going to find a solution? By creating a service. It might be a service, it could be a facility, it could be a new product itself for the betterment of the human experience so that they feel better. So now when you're coming to this situation, so what you're having, you have defined the problem. So you know that some people, one person has said that he wants to have this mobility, and basically it's mobility. So for mobility, for what? Mobility is, one wants to go to the shop, the other wants to go and sit around in the park, the other one wants to have a coffee with a friend, the third one wants to have to say, just go around and look around the people across everywhere. So they have their, this is the problem which they are basically having. The thing is, they are bound, these old people are bound inside the houses and they actually want to come out. This is what they are wanting. So we are actually defining the problem now so that we can create a product which can help them move around freely and to their own confidence. So this is our problem statement. Now, to do this, you need to develop solutions. How do we do that? We have to have ideas and we have to have potential matches. This can be done by, if you have lots of people, have a team with you, sit down in a team, give this problem to everybody. Now, everybody would be having certain ideas in them, write it on the post-its and then put it across all around their room and try putting all solutions that is possible. Now, when you do that, then in that case, you will be finding that you have to find out the combination. So you are trying to match the solutions which you have found, the ideas which are coming out as solutions, at whether it is falling in the defined category, and it is also covering up the empathized thing. What is the demand of the people? So this you have to see that it is for, supporting both these functions. So as I said, all of you sit down, put out your ideas on the post-its, categorize it, find out which solution is the best solution, and then you can do about it. Now, so you're having ideas now. Some people, you might be getting some ideas, like you have seen this over here. We from the categories of various post-its which you have done, you can put it into different buckets and you can find out common type of things, what can form, and from there you will see that you're getting 2 or 3, 4 solutions. So what are the solutions which people might have given? One person gave this solution that, okay, we can have this role. Look at the left top figure, wherein you are walking and you have, it's like a support system. You have a walking stick type support and you also have the rollers. So this is one solution somebody gave. Another person gave that you're supporting the person from the back and it's like a sledge type of a thing and the person is moving on it. The third thing which one person gives a solution is that, okay, let it be that you won't just have to have, go out of the house. So you're giving a artificial, this intelligence thing, and also you're giving this the methodology wherein the system is attached to the spectacles, and you have the views, whatever, like you are having a 3D world around yourself. So various options are coming out of the ideate thing. Now, out of this, you have to choose the best option which you seem should be possible, is actually happening. So whether it's virtual reality, whether it's the first option, or whether it's the sledge thing. So when you're doing that, you are picking up one. So we have picked up one solution, and now you'll do is you'll try to make a prototype of it, because you have to make how it looks like, how it feels like. So once you make a prototype, then you may take it to the market again, and you will actually test it around and see what your feedback is. There might be some drawbacks because you are thinking from your perspective. People are going to think it from their perspective. There might be a difference in the translation of the process that people is thinking and what you have perceived. So you need to test it. So when you're taking this, then you will have certain feedbacks again. Some people might be saying, okay, this needs to have a bell. Somebody might be saying, no, this is very, there should be some mechanism of putting a brake or stopping or something like that. So many people will be giving so many solutions. Whatever is the best feasible thing, you will see that if it can be incorporated. So you go back to the various previous stages, and then you try to incorporate it. So after prototyping, you see once somebody has made this one, the first one, and here we have the issue of climbing up. So you cannot climb up the stairs when you're having this one. The other one, so somebody gives a solution, can it be in this formation? So you need a stick which helps you to climb. You also need this thing, which this mobility on the left hand side, that is given. So can these two be combined and a new product be made? Yes, it can be made. So a new product is made that is basically a walking stick, but it is having 4 wheels at the bottom. So with this thing, you can actually climb up the stairs, and you can move around always. So the single product can help you do it. So you're sketching it out. What you do is basically when you're doing a solution, you're trying to sketch it also as to how the product would look like. And then you create that product. So you have prototyped it, you make that product, and then you try to test it. Where the testing is, you're going to the market and you're giving the product to various people, and then you are creating it. So what is happening? The ideate and the prototype, you are making them combined, and the product which you get out is something which you're going to test. And from the testing, again, you will be getting some feedbacks. So you are again going to redefine the problem. So once you redefine it, you again go to the ideate thing. So because once you are redefining, certain other inputs need to be put in. So you go to the ideate form. So you are again getting certain ideas. You again put that ideas into the thing. And this is how the entire circle keeps on going. So what happens? We started with empathize. We went to the define thing. From the define thing, we had a brainstorming session. So we created an ideate. From the ideate, we actually combined 2 things, and we have various other ideas. We found the best solution. We created a prototype. From the prototype, when we are doing these steps, say from empathize, we came to define. From empathize, we can again go to prototype when we are coming from other circles. So from prototype, it might happen again, you find some idea, you go back to idea. So this solution is not working. You go to the idea. You again create a idea, and then you incorporate it. So this circle and interlinking, any step can go to any stage. Once you have completed the entire set of 5 steps, you have done it. So finally, your product is here. You have created this product and you're giving it to testing. So when you're giving to testing, again, you will get certain feedbacks. So you're writing down all the feedbacks which you're getting. And based on that feedback, you will be incorporating further things into it. As I said, there could be a feedback that you need to, maybe if the rollers are very tight, or maybe the rollers are very smooth, which is, very difficult in maneuvering. It could be somebody might be saying, though, like if you could put a bell over there, if you could put a braking system in it. So there might be certain feedback which the users are, encountering still as a problem, and that needs to be incorporated. Finally, one product is created, and you see people are happy that you have created the product. So this is the entire life cycle of, and then once you have done it, you can then market it, you can sell it off the shares, the shops and other things. So your product is done, you can make it and you are selling it and you are creating your revenues for yourself. So this is the entire system as to how you are making up a product, or you are providing a facility, or you are improving the facility by just tweaking it somehow, wherein you have various other things which you can incorporate. So if you have any questions, we can take at the end, probably. You can just put it in the chat box so we can discuss it later. Thank you. Paul, sir, you can take over, please.
Yeah. So thank you, Professor Sengupta. Thank you, Professor Sengupta. It is very nicely explained. Maybe at the end, we will summarize very nicely. You have explained the 5 stages of the design thinking. Now, our next speaker is Dr. Devashish Das. He is the innovation ambassador, entrepreneurship development, and lead coordinator, startup verticals of Institution Innovation Cell, Technology University. He is associate professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Technology University. So over to you, Dr. Devashish Das.
Thank you, sir, for giving the introduction. Now, let me share my screen.
Hello, Dr. Devashish Das. I feel you are not audible. Dr.
Hello.
Yeah, now you are audible. Yeah, please.
Audible? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So,
yeah, right,
my screen is visible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Already you have got some idea about the design thinking and ideation of the product. So now I will talk about few basic things on entrepreneurship and startup, and what are the job role of IIC to promote this entrepreneurship and the startup culture in the institution. So I'll start with the definition, because this is an orientation session. The first year students also are here. So entrepreneur, who is an entrepreneur? Who are having some innovative idea and dares to start the idea. So that is the most important thing about the entrepreneur. Now, talking about the entrepreneurship, it is actually if you have innovated something that should be marketable. So it can be defined as a marketing innovation is an entrepreneurship. Okay, and what we'll do as an entrepreneur, we'll actually solve some problem. What kind of problem? We can solve 2 types of problems. One is technological solution. We can provide technological solution or a societal solution. So at the last of this session, I will show you some real life startups, the well-known startups. So you can understand which is a technological startup solution and which is a societal solution. Okay, now what should be the quality of an entrepreneur? He should be motivated, should have creative tendency, self-employment capability, and the most important thing is the 4th point is he should take calculated risk on the market, on his product. Why this is not risk taking, is calculated risk. If you take any kind of risk, you are investing money into a product, so arbitrarily, so you cannot gain, you may not gain something. So it should be a calculated risk taking. Okay, and there should be a leadership quality of the entrepreneur. Now there are 2 important parameters of an entrepreneur should have. It is in entrepreneurship, it is innovation and one is risk. Okay, so if I make a matrix of these, horizontally non-innovative and innovative, risk averse and risk taker. So the first part, where there is no innovation and the people who not ready to take risks, they are bureaucrats. Some finance bureaucrats we know. Okay, say all the resources are available, plannings are available, just they need to make the rules and the plannings on that. So they will not innovate anything. They will not take the risk. Likewise, they will set their plans. So they are bureaucrat. Now, if you are not innovative, but you can take risk, who are you? You are the gambler. Okay. So now, if you are innovative, but you cannot take risk, you are not fond of taking risk. So you people are dreamer, who are basically the students. You are innovative, but at this stage, the students do not like to take risk. But if you can overcome this concept, if you can take risk with the innovative minds, so you will be an entrepreneur. So who are innovative and risk taker, they are entrepreneur. Okay, so we have to overcome all these barriers. We have to be innovative, and we should take risk, but always it should be a calculated risk take. Okay, now coming to the entrepreneur manifestations, that means in which portions you can innovate. Okay, for to start a business or to be an entrepreneur, so you can introduce a new or improved goods and services. Okay, this is one field. Second, you can develop some new method of production and process. Already there is a process or a production. So can you develop some new methods for doing the same thing? So there is another way where we can start our business. Second is opening of a new market. Everything is available in the market. So if you can set a new market, a new set of people where you can sell your product, or you can create the business. So that is another option. Next is exploration of a new source of supply. If it's a product based, so if the source of supply can be regenerated, so that is another field of innovation or entrepreneurship. So the last is the re-engineering of business management process. If there is an existing thing, you can re-engineer on that. As you just have listened from the previous speaker, how to re-engineering on an existing developed product to make it more acceptable to the user. So that is called actually re-engineering of business management process. So there are 5 different fields where all kind of students, regardless of their stream branches, you can start your business, or you can be an entrepreneur. Now coming to the entrepreneurial process, I'm telling about this because the ma'am already has spoken about this. How to start, how to complete, how to build the final product. Okay, from the ideation stage. So in the first problem engagement, you have to find out the problem. Then you should come under incubation, right? Where actually you will get the mentorship to make your idea in some business plan or mathematical formulation you are doing. So that is called idea hypothesis. Okay, then next you talk to some experienced persons or experts who are already having previous experience on doing something like that, or you can experience from the from your the other students or your colleagues or your friends. Okay, some experience you have obtained, then you go back to again the idea hypothesis. Okay, if it requires to be changed in somewhere, so that you can build a more better product. Then come to active experiment. Now you are doing the actual experiment, and after you have made the first version of the product, and you have distributed in the market, and you are collecting the feedbacks. Now if you found that so many things to be modified on that, so you can go back to the idea hypothesis again, and you can change that again, experience, activate. So this is entire process is actually called entrepreneurial process, which you should go through if you are an entrepreneur. Now coming to the startup, so there are various kind of business you can start. Actually there are MSMEs, micro, small, medium and small type of enterprises. Now why we are going for this startup? This is the very frequently used term nowadays, startup. So where the startups resides, I will show you. There are 2 important parameters. One is innovation, and another one is entrepreneurship skill. Now, if you are having less innovative mind, and less entrepreneurship skill, so you just can participate for the time being, you just participate in boot camps, hackathon with less innovation, and you can gather some experiences from that. Next, if you are having second level of entrepreneurship skill, so you can set your business model now, and you just start customer validation. Okay, you just define your customers, who should be your customers, and you can start getting feedback from the customers to build is a more appropriate product for the market. Okay, now I'm talking all this having less innovation. Okay, now you're having super entrepreneurship skill, but innovation part is less. So for the time being, you can build your teams, you can grow towards your plan, make the planning and the execution part. That means collecting feedbacks and all these things. Okay, now if you have uh, more innovation into you, so but there is a lack of entrepreneurship skills, so that is called the academic research that is doing in the institutions. Next is mid-level of entrepreneurship skill and maximum level of innovation. You can start your corporate industry like the MSMEs. Okay, now startup is here. If you have a great innovative mind and you are having full entrepreneurship skills, and a team is with you, having all the qualities should have an entrepreneur, or all the skills that should have of an entrepreneur. So you can start your business. That is a startup. Obviously, there are some legal issues on startup. Every business is not called a startup. There are some legal definitions of a startup. That means you cannot, if your business, if your company cannot, the turnaround is greater than, if it is less than 100 crores, so that should be a startup. But if you can earn more than that, it will not be a startup. Okay, so there are some legal issues and the definition of startup. Now, why do we frequently talk about the startup for and motivating the student for startup? Because there are some benefits. Whenever you are going for a business, if it is a startup, there will be no tax for first 3 years. Easy process to apply for government tenders. There are available government funds are there. Every year, government provides 10,000 crores for startup, giving for promoting the startups. And there is a concession in patent application if you want to apply for patent for your product, or your process. So there will be 50% concession in applying in a product patent. Similar concession will be given for trademark registration. And if you want to exit from the startup, if you close the startup, there is a very easy exit policy in that. Okay, so these are a few advantages. That's why you are going for startup. Now, how to change from an idea, how to convert an idea to a startup? There are a few steps in that. First, you have to find out the idea, then you have to convert this in business idea, then start for venture and collect all the component, then you can start your business as a startup. Okay, now I will talk about more about this business idea. What are the components of this business idea? There are mainly two components: prototype and funding. Okay, so first you have to develop a prototype from your idea, and where you need a mentorship from the expert people, and in that expertise, who are having expertise in that particular domain. Now, another important component is funding. To collect funding for your business, for your startup, there are two options, mainly prize money and grant fund. So government is giving various grants, okay, for promoting these startups. And prize money means you can participate in various competitions, hackathons, and you can earn money for start your business. But nowadays, one intention of the students is seen that everyone is asking for funding. Sir, if we are going for even if whenever we are starting for an ideation step, the students are thinking about funding. But let me clear you, just go according to this steps, step by step. Then whenever it will be requiring, you just start collecting the fund, okay, for your business. Now there are various important components are there of startup. I have shown here 5 components. One is idea, team, business plan, funding, and timing. And you cannot believe that funding is having the less weightage. Idea is 28%, team is 32%, business plan 24%, funding is 14%, and timing is 42%. And this percentage actually collected from some public lectures from the experts. Okay, so this is not the fixed thing, but first important part is idea, okay, about your startup. Then the team, what are the expert team you are having? So there is 32% weightage. Then business plan, can you convert this your idea to business plan properly so that people will buy your product? So this is the business plan. But funding, you can get funding from, there are various sources from where if you are innovative, you can get the fund. So do not think more about that. Then come to the timing. Timing is the most weightage, maximum weightage is timing. That means, suppose I am thinking of an idea or of a product that is not required at this moment, right? So your product will not be popular in the market. You cannot sell your product. So timing is the most important thing for a startup. Whenever you are thinking some idea, think about the ongoing real life problems on the society. Okay. Now I'm coming to the initiatives by IIC. What are the initiatives taken by IIC to help the students or the faculties? These are various events we have organized from our institution. Smart India Hackathon, several interactive sessions by the expert, quiz competition, future-proof hackathon, faculty development programs for faculties, toys and games hackathon, various webinar series, and startup carnival. So we are trying to connect the expert domains with the students and the faculties. And what are the initiatives taken by the MHRD, IIC? These are the various things that they are: mentoring session, orientation session, workshops, Yukti, interactive session, Samadhan, Kapila, incubation. So many things are there. If you can find out, if you can go to the IIC portal, you can get all these things. And specifically, I'll talk about this Yukti and this Kapila. Okay, and rest of the things, most of the things are hackathon, Smart India Hackathon, leadership talks, Asian India Hackathon, Toykathon, and also there is a MBA PGDM courses on entrepreneurship, innovation entrepreneurship. Okay, so there are links are there in IIC. You can take help from there if you are interested to take that kind of course. Then Drug Discovery Hackathon, Singapore India Hackathon. So you can participate in various hackathons organized by the MHRD under IIC. Okay, so there are incubation, pre-incubation facilities are there. All the links are there in all over the country. Where are the incubation centers are there? You can connect to them also. Okay, so I will talk about Yukti and Kapila. What is the scheme Yukti? It is the initiative to assimilate innovations which is having commercial potential, okay, from academics. They will provide fund and mentorship support to you. Okay, so who can apply for this scheme? Students, faculties, any startups, and other stakeholders from the higher education institute. So you can apply for this. When to apply? Application is open throughout the year. Evaluation done twice in a year. So May to June, the first evaluation, second is November to December. Second round of evaluation is still open up to September 2021. So you can check this IIC portal, MIC portal. Okay, that is actually MHRD IIC. So you can check the portal for this scheme, Yukti 2.0, if you are having innovative idea in your mind, okay, and if you are ready to make the minimum viable product or the prototype. Now, what you can gain mentorship from domain experts throughout the India who are associated with the IIC. Then the funding support also is there for the applicants. Okay, so this is the Yukti scheme available. You can it is the submission deadline, as you can see, is September 2021. So you should check this website, MIC website, mic.gov.in. Next, another important scheme is Kapila. Why I'm talking about these two, Yukti and Kapila? Because this is directly related to a startup. If you are having a product idea, you can you can just help from their mentorship funding. And Kapila is for patent, okay, filing patent. So the full form is Kalam Program for IP Literacy and Awareness, and it is for giving helping the academic innovators like students, faculties, for providing some mentorship as well as the funding. Okay, who can apply? Patent application can be made from the institution, name of the institution. If you are having something and if you want to apply patent for that through IIC, so you can apply through our institution. Okay, now when to apply? Application again throughout the year is open for throughout the year, and fund will be released quarterly basis. Now what you can gain? There will be a reimbursement for every patent filing application fee up to 28,000. Okay, so you can get the complete amount which is required for patenting filing a patent. Okay, and maximum 10 applications can be made from any institution. So you can think of this. You should take this advantage of this scheme. And these are some important dates. Still, it is open. First phase was 1st April to 31st July. Second is August 1 to November 30. And third is December 1st to 31st of March 2022. So this is open still for this financial year, 2021 to 2022. Okay. So this is all about the Kapila scheme. Now, this is all about the IIC initiatives. You can take help from them and you can take advantage of this. Now coming to some successful startup, I will show you something so that you can get more interest in that. There is a startup, it's called Husk Power System. The name is, the CEO was Ganesh Pandey. He is a BTech from IIT BHU. Okay, and he developed a system. It is generating electricity from rice husk, and he has started in 2010. Okay, so that time it was necessary, and he has found out his market. He has started from Bihar, Tamil Nadu, some part of West Bengal, and then he expanded to Southeast Asia and Africa after successfully set up this startup. Okay, and what was his key point? For a rural area, a particular family needs 80 rupees per month for kerosene. Okay, but he can provide with the half cost, electricity with half cost. He just collect the rice husk and can generate the electricity for the people. Okay, so that was a technological solution. This is a technological solution. Okay. Now coming to another startup, it's called Kaushala Foundation, started by Mr. Kaushalendra. He is an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and he is very popular, or is named as MBA Sabjiwala. Why? Because he has started a business where the concept, this is a unique concept. He started in 2003. It is a selling pre-packaged farm fresh vegetables. Okay, whenever you are going to a market and you are buying something, so you want 1 kilo of some vegetables, but whenever it's weighing, it is suppose 1 kilo and 100. So why he should give 100 gram extra to you? So he come with this unique idea that already it will be measured, it will be weighted as 1 kilo or 2 kilo packed, and he can sell this product. So his initiative, he has made this startup, and it has been adopted by the government of India, and nowadays it is used in every shopping malls in every states. Okay. So this is another societal innovation. There is no technology. Another person, it is PC Mustafa. He's BTech from an NIT. Okay, he started a business on food. Name is ID Fresh Food. He branded idli dosa in South India. Okay, and he has started with South India. Now he has expanded this business in USA and Dubai also. Right. So these are the innovation. These are the simple innovation he has made, and he has started this startup. The next is Another person, a youngest person, Ritesh Agarwal, he is a college dropout from Delhi, and he just started a business in a hotel, and he applied for a fellowship. It is called a Thayil Fellowship from America. It's given by some person in America. So it is, the amount is 0.1 million. He has just received that amount by applying with his idea, and he has developed start this startup. It's Oyo Room. All of you know this term, Oyo Room, and he is the second youngest billionaire in 2020 now. Okay, so what is the idea? Very simple idea. He just take the hotel rooms in rent and renovate that, and with super facilities, and he sells that through our website. Okay, so that is the idea, simple idea of a business. Now, this is my last example I will give you about Kunal Shah. He is an MBA dropout. He has started his venture with free charge. Everyone, I think most of the students and faculties also, they are having this kind of apps, free charge, through which you can recharge your mobile phones, you can pay online bills, and you can get cashback, right? So he has started with this free charge, and his startup, after a few years, it is acquired. His startup is acquired by Snapdeal. Snapdeal is using nowadays this free charge, that concept. After selling this startup to the Snapdeal, he has started the new company with the same name, free charge. Okay, then this company also is acquired by Axis Bank now. So very recently, he has started a new startup. It is called Crate. So he's promoting in television, in advertisement. You can find this ad of Crate. It is online credit card bills paying. Right, so these kind of things, this is a technological solution again. So these are the startup from the successful entrepreneurship India I have collected for you people, so that you can get motivated. You can give technological solution if you are technology students. You can give societal solutions also. Okay, so that's all from my side. And before coming to end my session, I will show you some important links where you can go for registering your startup. Startup India Hub. Okay, it's a government portal. You can register your startup there and take advantages of that. And the MIC link for government IIC portal, where you just visit that and you can find all kind of facilities available in there, and you can opt for that. And whichever the schemes are open, you just can go for that. Okay, so every kind of facilities are provided there. So that's an end. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Sir. Thank you, Dr. Devasitas. It was very nicely presented, the idea. And we'll have question answer at the end. Our next speaker is Ms. Rupal Betai, Innovation Ambassador, IPR and Technology Transfer and Lead Coordinator for IPR Vertical, Institution Innovation Council, Techno India University. She is Manager, Projects and Global Initiatives, Office of Director, Global Operation, Techno India Group. So I request Rupal Madam to deliver her speech.
Thank you so much, Professor Paul, and thank you so much, everyone. Wishing you all a very good evening, and I hope you all are keeping safe and your family members as well. It was Professor Helena and Professor Devashish. Thank you so much for elaborating and explaining the details of design thinking as well as entrepreneurship in TNU. I would now cover the sector, which is a very important thing after you are developing a product or a solution, how to patent it, or what are the rights which are known as intellectual property rights, what are the rights which our government has in this field. So I would just share, allow me a minute, I'll share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is visible.
Thank you. Yeah, so now you may wonder what is intellectual property, whether we should protect it, whether we should promote it, or whether we should just not protect the intellectual properties. What do you basically understand by intellectual property? Intellectual, the word or the term itself means that it refers to the creation of mind. It's a product of the intellect. Creation can be with respect to inventions, it can be with respect to any artistic work, literary works, it can be a logo, a symbol, or a name. We can also have creations with some unique phrases, words, a symbol, a unique design of the product, design of your solution. So all these things fall under intellectual property. So in India or internationally, we have some guidelines which protect and promote intellectual property. You may think, what are the benefits that it carries? Why is it so much interested? And what is the importance behind it? Usually, these are the questions which are arising from the audience. So let me give you an example. Whenever you purchase a land or a property, you may immediately go and get it registered. We usually go and get the property or the land or the assets, the tangible assets or a house registered. Similarly, in the field of innovation, the novelty of the idea needs to be protected. In this respect, the guidelines and the rules and regulations that fall under IPR, intellectual property rights, come into play. The novelty of the innovation is our assets. Similar to our property, this is our intellectual right, and we need to register them. In our daily lives, we come across so many examples, so many new things that we see, and we ourselves also get some unique ideas or a new innovation. After we develop those ideas or the innovation, we may think whether it is patentable or non-patentable, whether it's actually a new idea or it's something which is already existing. So in order to understand these, whether it is patented, non-patented, whether we should basically register or not register it, there are some laws and rules which are done by organizations which fall under organizations such as WIPO and TRIPS. So WIPO, which is World Intellectual Property Organization, and TRIPS, which is known as trade-related aspects of the IPR, intellectual property rights. They have set of guidelines which a product or a solution caters to and can get itself, or the company can get its product registered, or the design or the mechanism or the process. So IPR is basically a right which includes a complete production of your idea. You may, as I previously mentioned, you may think whether we should get it protected or not. If I say no, why? Because a free access to such processes, such solutions, or such innovation would benefit so many individuals. But if we protect it, you can encourage the creation of a wide variety of intellectual goods and also strike a right balance between the interests of the innovator with a wider public interest. And hence, this suggests that it is really very important to protect and patent or trademark or copyright your solutions, your innovations. Next, these are the overview of the classifications of intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights can be majorly broadly classified into intellectual property, such as patents, trademark, industrial designs, and geographical indicators, GI, or it can also come under copyrights. So what does exactly fall under copyrights? So copyright includes such a content such as formed in any music, literature, works of art, etc. I would individually run through these terminologies with an overview and a brief details of each of these terms. Let's start with patents. Patents can be defined in two types, either a product patent or a process patent. A patent is usually a set of exclusive rights granted by a sovereign state or a government organization to an inventor for a certain period of time. The patents are usually for specific of time period, considering or taking into account what type of patent it is. This is only granted after a complete public disclosure of the invention. In order to understand whether our product, process, design, etc. are patented or not, we have certain characteristics. These patentability characteristics should be novel, which is a new original idea, should be useful to the industry, and should be non-obvious. It should be non-obvious because it is mandatorily for a person in the skilled art. So if the innovation falls under such categories, the idea or the innovation can easily be patented. There are different types of patent, which is utility patent, design patent, plant patent. Utility patent usually is granted for 20 years. A design patent is granted for 14 years, and a plant patent is granted for 20 years. Examples of a patent can be the swipe features, which a new feature, add-on feature, which can be patented, or an iPhone design. What all are included under patent? So what all can be patented, such as discoveries, theories, mathematical methods, a new business scheme, anything which is against natural law, weapons, nuclear and atomic technology, and surgery method. These are some broad examples under which we can get things patented. And what are the other things which cannot be usually patented, such as inventions that harm the public order, or an agricultural method, a knowledge which comes from a traditional knowledge which we acquire or inherit traditionally from traditional experiences, a computer program, or animals, etc. These are the things which cannot be patented. A patent application can be a continuous application. When you file your patents, it can be a continuous application, or you can also do a patenting in parts, continuation in parts, or a divisional selective application. You can also file a patent application as per your divisions. Why you might think that why should I get it patented? Like, what would I get if I patent it? I understand what the world would get, but why should I patent this thing? What are the benefits that I would get? So it is very important for an owner to patent it, because they can exclude the others from, one, making the invention, because it's your innovation and your idea. Two, using that innovation without your permission. So you own the right to use this innovation, and you own the right to pass it on to somebody else. Three, selling your innovation. In case if somebody sells that innovation which is patented officially and legally, then you can file a lawsuit against them. Fourth, offering a patent. You cannot just offer a patent to somebody, like just randomly pass it on to someone, or importing the patent. So these are the real benefits, and also you can earn a lot by transferring these technologies. So that is why it is really important for an owner to file a patent. The next term that we would look into is trademarks. Trademark, you may have seen many a times symbols such as R with a circle or a TM written. What does these symbols signify? So R with a circle signifies that this is a registered trademark, or that name or that logo is a registered logo. For initially, when a logo or a design or any other thing, a formula which is applied or put into application for trademarks, and filed, the registration process is on, then they can use the symbol of R with circle. Once the product is registered, once they actually acquire the trademark, the logo or the name, you can write it as TM. So trademark is mostly acquired by brands. These are recognizable signs, design, or the expression which identifies product or services of a particular source from those of others. For example, if I may say, Coke. So when we say Coke or when we say KFC, you can quickly recognize these brands. So these brands have created or made an identity of their own under with a trademark registered body. So so nobody else can use such names because the originality or the uniqueness of these products, these brands, lies with the owner. Similarly, when you register a trademark, the validity of these trademarks is given for a period of 10 years. This trademark is valid for 10 years until and unless you want to renew it after 10 years. So until 10 years, the owner has the rights of it. After that, you can also pay and again get the trademark renewed. So it's an ongoing process. The trade secrets. So once you have a brand, you have a trademark, definitely the product, the solution of your company or the brand or the solution or the innovation would have a trade secret. It would be very easy for you to recognize a taste of Coke from Thumbs Up, say. So some unique features or Amul ice cream, such unique features that you easily, or secrets that you easily, Mishti Doi, for example. So these are uniqueness which you would recognize and distinguish it from others. So similarly, these are called trade secrets. The process or the practice or the formula in which a company or a brand produces the innovation is basically defined under trade secret. It's not generally known or reasonably ascertainable by others, by which business can obtain an economic advantage over competitors or customers. So the trade secrets, which can be your formula or the practice how you produce it, or the process which it undergoes, the design of your brand, the instruments that are used, the commercial methods that fall under the entire procedure are known as trade secrets. The next identity, the next characteristics or classification we will cover is GI, geographical indicators. What do you understand by the term GI? Geographical indicators is majorly defined as a sign used on products that have a specific geographical origin, and it possesses quality or the reputation that are due to the origin. For example, to make it more simpler, suppose Kolhapuri chappals or Mysore silk. When we say such names, you immediately recall or you immediately link it to its origin, such as maybe a Kutch embroidery. When you look at those embroidery, you can immediately recognize it that these are Kutch embroideries from Gujarat. Similarly, Mysore silk or the Kolhapuri chappal or Basmati rice. So they have the unique characteristics and they are specific to certain geographical regions, and that's where they fall under geographical indicators. Some of these, so as I had initially mentioned, that there are traditional knowledge or traditional inheritance of some innovations that refers to the knowledge or the innovation and practices of indigenous and local communities around the world. These cannot be patented or trademarked, or they do not fall under geographical indicators. They are just transmitted orally from one generation to the other generation. Next, I will cover copyrights. So the term copyright is basically clearly defines the protection of distinctive signs. All of us in this due course would have definitely undergone or have seen content or write-ups says copyrights protected. So what exactly does this law or this copyright do? So these rights are basically a bundle of rights that are given by the law to the creators of a literary work or an artistic work, dramatic works. It can be also to the producers of the cinematography films. It can be a musical work. It can be your musical composition or lyrics or artistic works and the sound recordings. So such things which fall under your domain, which you have written or you have broadcasted, would come under copyright. So you can actually copyright these things as you are the owner of those creations. A copyright is given to an individual for a period of 60 years. This is the validity of copyrights are for 60 years. The next is industrial design. So industrial design, usually these industrial design includes a 3D feature, such as a shape of an article, or a 2D feature, such as the pattern, it can be a line, a color, etc. So designs, for example, it can be a cold drink bottle, it can be a chocolate packet wrapper, it can be any design which usually catches your eyes and which you would remember. So such design which are not into existence, which are unique, which are new, which are of your own, are come under design. So they have to fall under industrial design acts. These need to get under industrial design. So you need to actually file industrial design rights to acquire the design, the shape of the article or the line or the color rights. There is one more rights which is usually provided to farmers or those in the field of agriculture, the plant breeders. It's known as plant variety protection rights. Just one point is that the design, industrial design is valid for 10 years, a period of 10 years, and you can also extend the validity of those industrial designs for another 5 years. So coming back to the plant variety protection acts, these are given to the farmers or the plant breeders, and they have validity on two sets of crops, two types, which is one is a field crop, which has a validity of 15 years. So if you acquire a plant variety protection right, it will you can have those rights for 15 years, and if you have the rights, if you own the rights of any trees, that is valid for 18 years. So these are the major broader classifications of IPR. We can go in depth later. And so basically, what did we understand from the discussion today? Why the IPR is important? What is the need of intellectual property rights? So the conclusion is that an intellectual property right helps to encourage innovation. It also helps in economic growth. It safeguards the right of creators. It also ensures ease of doing business. So if you know that your business is protected, you have these certain rights provided to you by the government, by the legal teams, that nobody can steal those uniqueness, the ideas from you. Then you do not have to worry and you can focus more on your innovation. So the ease of doing business, and it also facilitates the transfer of technology. So the moral of the story is the holders of the intellectual property rights have monopoly on the usage of the property or the item or the product or the process, and for a specific period of time. Thank you so much, everyone. Feel free to get back to us if you have any more questions.
Thank you, Rupal Madam. So I propose that, okay, let me summarize all the 3 sessions. Then we'll have a question answer. Then we have a question answer for all the 3 sessions. So today we had first 3 most interesting sessions. The first section was by Professor Helena Sengupta. She has discussed about the design thinking and the changes of the 5 stages of design thinking. She has very nicely explained the methods, that is empathize, then define, ideate, prototype, test, and by doing that, she has explained very nicely how a product has been developed, and the product is very useful, and it has got a market, and it is highly innovative ideas. Then our next speaker was Dr. Devashish Das. Okay, he has explained basically the what are innovation versus risk. She has explained, and she has, I mean, he has given various explanation how a innovation can be useful. He has explained the flowchart for entrepreneurship process, and also his highlight was that high innovation and high entrepreneurship skill can generate a startup. And what are the advantages of startup, like the reduction in income tax and other things has been explained. And initiative of our institution's innovation council for various activities all has been explained. He has also explained the Kapila program, where a student or a faculty who are having an idea, he can he can generate an idea like a patent can be filed. And the last lecture was by Rupal Madam. She has explained the what are the IPR rights, classification, what are the classifications of various IPR, what are the types of copyright, and what are the advantages of IPR, and how it protects us, and how the IPR can be used for generating the startup. So all these are interlinked. So with all the three speakers, we could know that how a design thinking can generate a IPR activity, and that will lead to a startup activity. By that way, there will be growth of the institution and growth of our country. See, now we request that, okay, those who are having now, all the panelists are there, all the three speakers are there. Those who are having questions, they can ask. Either you can ask directly, we will allow that speaker to ask, or you can type your question answer. All participants are requested, those who are having any question answer, they can type their question answer.
Okay, I see a question from Momita Sengupta. It says that is participatory research similar to action research? So participatory research is an approach actually to action research, which is emphasizing on participation and action by members of communities affected by the research. So it's basically from, it's almost the same thing. It is approaching towards the action research. And I also see another question from her, which says that what should be the range of prototype testing, limited or extensive? See, when we are doing a prototyping, we are actually going to the level of, we have a target audience. Now, once we have a target audience, we know exactly that what we are trying to do. And it is always advisable that once we are launching a product, we should be actually targeting a small area, a small sector, so that when we are doing a prototype, it's like as you are aware that when we do research, it's a sample research. Sampling is happening over there. So similarly in prototyping also, when we are doing, we would be finding out we would be coming down to one product, and we would be testing it within a target audience with a small little area, and take their feedback and then develop the prototype further. So it's basically from a small niche place, we will be starting it, and then we will be, I had also mentioned that it would be further would be, it's an evolution of the product. So it's an evolutionary development. So time again and again, those people who are in software, they know there are so many versions coming up, because from the feedback after running a software, you come to understand where the bugs are, what is further modifications required to be done. So you have so many versions of a software. Similarly, when we are prototyping, we are making one product, and with the best possible means, after getting the feedback, we launch the product. And as we go further, then we try get more and more feedback, and then we do it we incorporate it. And I don't see any other question there, but if you have any other question, you can type it out, or you can ask by unmuting yourself.
Hello, participant, if there is any other question, you can tell, or even if you are having a question, you can write to us by email, or you can put your question in the WhatsApp group what has been created for this program. Okay, even if you are having a question in future regarding how to file a patent or what are the steps, or if you have got some idea for startup, you can anytime ask. It is not that you have to, okay, anytime you are free to ask, and from IIC we will clarify all the points.
In fact, I'll add to what Professor Ashok Kumar Paul has said. Yes, this entire session is for, you can correlate it with your ESD projects. See, what do you do in an ESD? You are supposed to solve out some problems. And then if you try to apply this design thinking methodology into development of your things, then you can just imagine you get 2 semesters for completing one ESD project. And if you started right from the first year, so you at least can come up with 4 products, and these 4 products can be converted into, you can go, it can go to the level of getting patents and going into entrepreneurship. So that is the entire thing which we are looking into, that you develop a product or a service, go for patenting and launch your own product into the market and start an entrepreneurship. So we are all over here to guide you guys. Take these opportunities and excel in your way you want to. And if you have any queries, as Sir said, you can write to us, or you can ask right over here. You can write in the WhatsApp group, or you can approach any one of us later on. Thank you.
There is a small announcement for all the attendees. I have already given a feedback link in the chat box. So you please fill the feedback link before you leave the from this session. And according to this feedback, we are actually giving you the participation certificate. Thank you.
Helena ma'am, you're not audible. Helena ma'am, you're not audible.
Yeah, sorry. Just for the purpose of IIC, sir, I hope you have taken a screenshot. Devashish, could you be online? I mean, unmute your video. So we have to, you can just take a screenshot, which would be required for submissions.
Yes, ma'am, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Since
There is another question, I guess.
I think there is no other question, as you have informed, that if there is any question or if there is any clarification, you can ask us anytime. Okay.
Okay, so there is one question from Abhishek Das. It's related to startup. How can we continue the startup with professional careers? With professional careers, yes, that's an important question. Actually, I hope you are asking about some people. There is a it's a conventional thinking that if you are going for a startup, you should you should take rest from all the professional careers, but it's not the reality. If you have a planning to start your business, to develop a startup, so there should funding is very much required there. You can get funding from various sources and from the government sources, but for your regular expenditure and some basic support for your startup, you need to do some job. Okay, so simultaneously you can manage both the things. You can do job in some area domain in your domain, and simultaneously you can go for your startup.
Basically, you need to do a time management. So, and you can work on it. I think there's no more questions. We can conclude.
There is no more questions. So all panelists, shall we close the session?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.
So thank you all speaker, and thank you all attendee. Thank you all the faculty members and their students. Okay, if we interact, then obviously both of us, we will be learning and we will be executing. And I'm sure that whatever the innovative ideas are there with our students and faculty member will be able to do some startup and some IPR activity. So thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank
With
you.
this, okay, with this we will close this meeting.